Welcome back. All right, I want to talk about the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit has now lost 6 in a row. And they've gone from a team that looked like, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of whether or not they might be able to catch third, whether or not they'd be the first wild card, the second wild card. The storyline's changed over the last 6 games. They've been outscored by a combined total of 32-11. So this has been a rough go of it. Their power play clicking at a 17.7% rate. Their penalty kill at 72.7%. So the penalty kill not strong enough. The power play not strong enough. Early in the season, their power play looked almost unstoppable. It hasn't looked that way lately. Now, in terms of the odds, currently Money Puck has them at a 33.2% chance of making the playoffs. The Athletic has them at 34%. Hockey Reference is pretty optimistic. They've got them at a 56.2% rate. So there you go. Hockey Reference, the favorite of Red Wings fans, is my guess. But they're currently tied for the number 2 wildcard spot with the Islanders. The Islanders have a game in hand, and the Islanders playing some good hockey. They lost their most recent game, but they won 6 in a row before that. So, yeah, I mean, for Detroit, things have changed very, very quickly with this 6-game losing streak. So let's take a look at it. It begins against those Islanders that they're competing with for this playoff spot, where they lose 5-3 against the Islanders. They trailed that one 2-0 after the first. They get goals from Mata. In fact, they got 2 of them, and they get one from Patrick Kane. Alex Lyon, 22 saves on 26 shots. One storyline that's become apparent, Alex Lyon, who was a third-string goaltender until last year, went on a really good run in the run-up to the playoffs for the Florida Panthers and looked pretty good in the playoffs. Looked great the first half of the season. It hasn't been the same lately for Lyon. I don't know whether it's the workload at the NHL level that he's not as familiar with, or if teams have figured out a weakness in Lyon's game. So it's just his numbers have been really, really low lately. After the loss against the Islanders, they then, at home, lose against Florida 4-0. Not a lot to cheer about if you're a Detroit fan in that one. They trailed 2-0 after the second. Alex Lyon saved 33 out of 37 in that game. Then they go to Denver. So the last place you want to go when your team's starting to struggle is Denver, and the Avs beat them 7-2. But in that game, they led 1-0 and 2-1 in the first period. So they scored early. They had a couple of leads. They just could not hold on to it. Same storyline as last night for Calgary against the Avs. The goals in that one for the Detroit Red Wings, Fabry and Perron. And Lions saved 35 out of 40. Reimer saved 12 out of 14 in relief of Alex Lyon. Then they go to Arizona, and this is where where the wheels really come off. They lost 4-0 at Arizona, so they're shut out for the second time in 3 games, meaning they'd scored a grand total of 2 goals over those 3 games. And they trailed 3-0 after the first. They were never really in the game against Arizona. Lyon, 20 saves on 24 shots in that game. So again, Lions numbers taking a hit. They're not getting goals. Everything that was working really well for them until this losing streak has just fallen apart. And the interesting thing is, they had a 6-game winning streak before this losing streak. That winning streak got them within striking distance of Toronto, and now that's a distant fantasy at this point. Then they go to Vegas. So again, if you're struggling, do you want to go to Vegas the night after you've lost in Arizona? Probably not for hockey. Las Vegas might be a good place to go to drown your sorrows, but definitely not a place to go if your team's struggling, because the Golden Knights pretty good. That one was tied in the third though before they lost that one 5-3. So for Detroit, there were close calls. Maybe if they hold on against Colorado, maybe if they'd been able to at least get a point against the Vegas Golden Knights, but they don't. Goals in that one, Rasmussen, Comfer, and Gostisbehere. Reimer saved 31 out of 35 in that one. And then last night, and the impetus behind this video, the 7-3 loss against the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. The Sabres have not been a very good team at home either. So the fact that they were trailing 4-1 after the first, absolutely, to me it's shocking, because you've got a team that's gone through all these losses. You're going into Buffalo. I understand Buffalo's been playing better, but you want to see desperate hockey from Detroit, from a Detroit team that hasn't made the playoffs in so very long, and we didn't really see that last night. The goals in that one, Sherratt, Raymond, and Wallman. Lions saved 9 out of 13. He gets taken out. Reimer goes in and saves 20 out of 23. So It hasn't mattered who the goaltender is. We haven't had a .900 save percentage from a goaltender anywhere during this 6-game losing streak. Now, Mata's their leading scorer over these 6 games. That's problematic. Not because Mata's a bad player, but because you need more, right? 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. One thing that stands out, the lack of Dylan Larkin. They have definitely missed Dylan Larkin a lot. He is their captain. He is one of their best scorers, if not the best scorer for the team. And it really stands out when he's not producing. Gostisbehere, a goal and 3 assists for 4 points in 6 games. Perron, a goal and 3 assists as well. For Raymond, a goal and an assist and a -10 rating. And so there's some pretty scary plus minuses in this too. Rasmussen has a goal and an assist. Fabry a goal and an assist. And Patrick Kane, who was having playing some of the best hockey he has since, I'd go back to like 2018. But yeah, 1 goal, 1 assist for Patrick Kane for 2 points in 6 games. Notice DeBrincat's not on the board. Maurice Seider, 2 assists, a -9 over those 6 games. Andrew Kopp, 2 assists as well. We've talked a lot about how he hasn't scored goals at a very high clip in Detroit. They could use that now. Sherrod has the 1 goal from last night's game. He's a -10. Petrie, 1 assist. He's a -10. So there's definitely been a huge breakdown when it comes to their defensive side of things. I thought what was interesting was last night, the Buffalo game, and Rob Ray talking about how, like, when they made the change in goal, saying it's not really goaltending, it's defense, and being shocked at the lack of defensive structure out there for the Detroit Red Wings, which to me is kind of damning of the coaching staff. And I understand that, like, Lalonde is seen as a pretty good coach, but I did see that as kind of, a statement on the coaching, that the defense just doesn't have the kind of structure you need and what you need in a game to prevent those goals against. Basically, it was way too easy for Buffalo to play against them, thus the 4-1 lead after the first period. Now, Reimer's 0-1 over the 6-game losing streak with an .880 save percentage. Lions 0-5 with an .850 save percentage. Maybe they miss Husso. I know how crazy that sounds, but maybe they miss Husso. Maybe Lyon was more, I don't know if motivated is the right word. I guess he'd be more rested with the three goalie rotation. But I do wonder if they overplayed Lyon. Like, we know Reimer, you get what you get with Reimer. Maybe they've overplayed Lyon a little bit. Maybe they don't have that trust in Reimer. But either way, they got to figure this out quickly. So, tomorrow night, they're at home against Arizona. That is a winnable game. But they already lost against Arizona recently. So, does the fact that this one's at home, and after the road trip they've had where they went 0-4, they allowed, 11, 16, 23 goals in those 4 games. Are they going to come home and show better defensive structure? Are they going to be a better team? Or are we going to continue to see them falling off from here? On Saturday, they're at home against Buffalo. Buffalo has improved their chances of making the playoffs. They're not great chances, but they've improved them. And Buffalo, I'm sure, will bring their A game on Saturday. Then the next day they go to Pittsburgh and play in Pittsburgh against the Penguins on Sunday. So the next 3 games winnable, so's the 4th. They come back home and they play Columbus on Tuesday. So those next 4 games, all of them games that Detroit could win. Maybe Detroit gets on a winning streak. And then the key game is next Thursday, where they're at home against the New York Islanders. If they can go on a streak, and again, they had a 6-game winning streak before the 6-game losing streak, they could turn this around. It's not too late. And yet, when I was watching that game against Buffalo, it felt like this was a team that was playing out the string. That's how it looked. If you didn't know the standings and you were watching last night's game, you would be forgiven for thinking Detroit's just playing out the string. They're not making the playoffs. But they're in the hunt. They're tied for that number 2 wildcard spot. And yes, the Islanders have a game in hand, but teams lose games in hand all the time. So for Detroit, they really need to turn this around. But I guess the question I have to ask is, if this team continues to self-destruct and implode, where does the blame lie? Is this just a team that was maybe playing over their heads and recent results have started to show who they really are? Or is this a team that's better than this 6-game losing streak and they're going to show it over their next 5 or 10 games? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because this could really go either way with Detroit. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.